Whitney, a teacher at the J. and Rose Phillips Early Childhood Center at the Boulder JCC. I've worked in early education for the past 9 years, mostly in preschool and pre-K classrooms. This year, I moved into a toddler classroom for the first time. This is a story about understanding my identity as a teacher through revisiting and authoring learning stories. As I began my time in a toddler classroom, I felt a shift in the way that my day to day looked compared to my experience with older age groups, which affected how I felt about my work these first few months. I was stuck in a dichotomy of education versus care. In her book, Illuminating Care, Carol Garbodin Murray states, having a colleague that shared with her, "I didn't get a master's degree to change diapers." Unfortunately, this sentiment seemed to capture my ambivalence. I was struggling with feeling like less a teacher, a leader, an expert in my current setting. I felt that this change in the age of children in my classroom caused an unforeseen amount of care tasks: hand washing, cleaning up, diaper changes, packing bags, the list goes on. There was a disconnect in my mind between what I was doing in the classroom and what I viewed as teaching. I couldn't relate to the other educators in my school. I saw their worth, but not my own. I saw others as incredible, thoughtful teachers. I was in awe of a colleague in the infant class who brought such intention and patience to every interaction and experience. Bringing these feelings forward was hard. I did not want to put down the work of our school and community, which I was proud of. Yet, the feelings lingered, and every question I was asked on this topic, I felt unable to articulate on the disconnect. Mentors and colleagues continued to push me to think about this. I was asked, what is the role of a teacher? What exists in the classroom that makes this idea visible? And what highlights the positives of your role? These questions propelled me into reviewing my own teaching practice in a new way. In reflecting on this unease I felt being a toddler teacher, it was important to consider my thoughts around care versus curriculum. This quote by the poet Milton Mayroff states, "We sometimes speak as if caring for someone did not require knowledge. To care for someone, I must know many things." This opened the door for me to consider the knowledge and expertise that is present even within these seemingly mundane tasks that I felt took up my full day's time and energy. I continued to seek out ways for this to sit better with me. I reflected on the questions posed to me about what showcased teaching in my practice and began looking for examples, especially in places I hadn't considered before. I was encouraged to consider what I saw in a colleague I admired. I knew that there was magic in my school and community, and I knew that Joni in the infant room was a teacher. So I reflected on what I saw in her and wrote it in the form of a letter. Dear Joni, though I only see you teaching in small moments as I pass in the hall or take a peek through the window, I can feel all the ways that you build trust, embed care, and create opportunities for learning with the infants in our community. I see art on the walls, but even this is more than meets the eye. A family crest for each member of your class, students and teachers alike. This tells the story of those who make up the community and what is important and meaningful to each of them. This highlights your deep knowledge of who and what is important. You deeply research your students each day, and this is evidence of that. Your environment alone speaks to the ways you connect to others and understand their needs and values. As you engage with your infant class, your energy is calm yet joyful, and everyone who passes by can sense it. You speak to them as full humans, repeating back their baby babbles while adding richness and complexity. In every interaction, you provide them a little more while also storing away new information about them. I hear you ask them many questions as you explain your own thinking. What did you find? What will you do with that? We all know an answer is unlikely, but you illustrate both your own and their thinking to support deep reflection and connection. You share many smiles, snuggles, and simple moments that truly are the big things. These moments of connection and discovery create a deeply loving and nurturing space for your students. Sincerely, Whitney. Writing this pushed me to further consider the question, what is the role of the teacher? I came to consider what was at the core of teaching in my personal definition. How I wanted to define teaching for myself was someone who knows students deeply, partners with them on discovering themselves in the world, supports attaining new skills, and most importantly, is a cheerleader for their growth and development. As I was considering where in my classroom proof of this definition of teaching already lived, it was through documentation called learning stories that these attributes I aspired for were present. Learning stories are letters written from the teacher to the child meant to capture a specific moment in time and celebrate the child for who they are. Our school utilizes learning stories as artifacts for student portfolios to document a child's growth through stories rather than checklists. Writing learning stories helped me see the teaching and learning that was already happening, and it was right there in something I was already doing, just as they were in Joni and my other colleagues. I was reminded of these moments that were impactful to students, to myself, times I saw a student rise to the occasion, moments I felt pride in these growing people and celebrated who they were alongside them. The stories I wrote to the children demonstrate my ideals as a teacher. And in reflecting on them and continuing to author them, I can lean into my expertise and find my spark again. These stories made visible exactly what I valued in teaching. Meet Ivy, a fun-loving athlete who always has a song in her heart. Her learning story shows that presence, care, and connection drive forward growth. Ivy, we were working in the art center today with paint sticks. This is one of your favorite ways to create. You love to add lots of colors, describe your creations, and twist the paint sticks up and down. Elsie came to paint with you and tried a paint stick, but the cap was still on, so she was unable to make a mark. She asked me for help, but I knew that you were just as capable in supporting her. I said, "Can you ask Ivy for help?" She turned and said, "Help, please," and you showed her how to open the cap and how the paint would now be able to come out. When the paint was too low, you again picked up the paint stick and showed her how to twist the paint out, up or down, as the paint came further out and was then retracted again. When your friend was still not sure how to get the paint stick working, she turned to you again asking for help, and you kindly replied, "Yes, I help you. Just move it a little." It was so nice to see and hear you trying a new way to assist her and help her to understand how the paint needed to be rolled up to work again. You continued to help Elsie, offering your help and gentle words. "Here, here, oh, you need help?" And "I'll help you, do this." You observed your friend and supported her with your words and actions while letting her take a turn. You pointed out the colors you were using, mentioned you were drawing a circle picture for Maya, and filled the art center with language and care. Ivy, you bring warmth, care, and confidence to our classroom and share this so graciously with others. Your story speaks to our Jewish value of tikkun olam. Your acts of kindness helped both me and your friends. You reminded us all, even the smallest acts support a better world. Ivy, you taught me that we all have strength, and there are many ways, big and small, that we can use them to make a difference. Sincerely, Whitney. And now, meet Molly. She's a vibrant and social child who has been officially named the mayor of our school. She thrives on connecting with others, will never forget a name, and loves to be a leader. Dear Molly, today after you finished lunch, you stated, "I'm going to sing Bubblegum." This is a song we always use as a part of our morning snack ritual. It has become a favorite part of our classroom routine. You began to sing, doing hand motions, and captivating your friends. They all watched from the lunch table as you confidently took on this leadership role. After the song, you beamed with a mix of pride and joy. At this time, a friend was inspired by your initiative, and they too grabbed a chair and pulled it in front of where the rest of your friends were sitting, right alongside you. You were so generous as you shared the spotlight with a peer. This continued to happen as more friends joined in on your idea. They too wanted to try out being a leader by carrying out this special routine in a new way. Molly, your confidence, charisma, and strong self-efficacy bring so much to our classroom. You are continually reminding us of the importance of allowing everyone to be a leader and a teacher. We can all learn and be inspired by one another. We are so impressed with you seeking out special moments to share your gifts and finding space to share the spotlight with others. Molly, your enthusiasm and joy while performing this song brought to light the deep importance and intention of routines and rituals in the classroom. Your joyful and powerful retelling of this seemingly ordinary song highlight our Jewish value of Kedusha. You remind us of the importance and power of the time we spend together as a community. Sincerely, Whitney. After considering what it means to be a teacher, I saw its presence within my classroom and within myself through learning stories. This allowed me to consider the other ways in which my definition of teaching shows up in the toddler classroom. This reflection was captured in the same way it was for others, through a learning story. Dear Whitney, not long ago you entered the toddler classroom and questioned everything. Your days unfolded in unfamiliar ways, and the care you offered no longer looked like the teaching you once knew. With the support of mentors, colleagues, and coaches, you began to ask, what is teaching? You first found answers in others, in the relationships they built, the language they used, and the deep understanding they held of each child and family. Looking closer, you realized those same qualities were present in your own classroom. Through learning stories, your vision of teaching became visible. And there it was in something you had always been doing. You turned the same thoughtful, strength-based lens onto yourself and your own teaching. You began to see that each learning story you had written reflected what you valued most: knowing your students deeply, partnering in their discovery, and celebrating their growth. You now see someone who is deeply engaged with her students, thoughtful in her interactions, and always putting her best foot forward. You see a teacher who is leading with intention, humor, and heart. You once felt a separation between teaching and the care and routines of classroom life. But now you see all these moments together have revealed themselves to be where learning truly lives. When you viewed yourself with the same compassion you offered others, you recognized the many ways you connect with and support each child in every instance, big and small. You're beginning to see yourself as you see others, full of potential, an expert in your field, and inherently worthy as you are. You did not become a different teacher. You began to recognize that your teaching and care were always enough. Care was never a distraction from teaching. It was the foundation. From it, every moment, every story, and every child grew. And you did too. Revisiting and authoring learning stories reminded me that care, connection, and love were always enough and should continue to be the foundation of all teaching. Mr. Rogers said it best. I don't think anyone can grow unless he's loved exactly as he is now, appreciated for what he is rather than what he will be. Sincerely, Whitney.